In this video, I want to go over a new picker that was created by the LazyVim distribution maintainer. I'm probably not gonna pronounce the name right, but I just call him Folke. Sorry if that's not the way. If you know how, just let me know. There's a lot of stuff that I need to cover and demo, so I'll try to move fast. First of all, as you can see here on the right hand side, why didn't I switch to fzf-lua? I have been using telescope since I started with Neovim. Everyone moved over to fzf-lua, well, not everyone, but a lot of people. I couldn't because of a few features that were not available. One of them, and the main one, is this frecency. Let me switch to my .files latest, and I'm going to open here the snacks file. Let's search here for frecency. This is the one. So what is this frecency about? Let me again open the new picker. I'm going to press here liter space. That's the way that I navigate my files. And I'm going to search for something here. I'm going to type here options. Notice that I have two different files. The first one is in the Neovim directory, and the second one is in the LazyVim directory. I never opened this one, right? So when I look for options here, I don't want to see this at the top. And without frecency, that's what would happen. And I guess because it's sorted alphabetically, not sure. But with frecency, you're going to notice that on the left-hand side, on each one of the files, there is a number, and that is the score of each one of the files. Every time I open a file, it increases its score. So notice that this one has a higher score because I open it most of the times, so it's going to show up at the top. fzf-lua didn't have this option. I'm not sure if it has it now, but I did have this option in telescope. So that's why I was sticking to telescope still. If you're still using telescope and you don't want to migrate to this new picker, and you want to find out more about the frecency option, I have this video that I released 6 months ago, telescope-frecency, in which I explain all of it in detail. It's only 3 minutes long, so go and check it out. Alright, one of the other main reasons why I didn't switch over to fzf-lua is because I couldn't start it in normal mode. Let me bring up my buffers picker. I'm just going to type here capital H, or that would be Shift H, and notice that the buffers picker shows up. These are the different buffers that I have open right now. Notice that I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is the number that you see here on the top left corner. I don't like having a lot of tabs here at the top. Instead, this is the way that I navigate my buffers. And as you noticed, when I brought this up, it started automatically in normal mode. It didn't start in insert mode, so I can navigate the files up and down. Let me do it again. I'm just going to close here, and I'll bring it up again. Notice that it starts automatically in normal mode, and I can go down to this file if I want to. I didn't find an easy way to do that in fzf-lua. I can do it with the new picker. And one of the other reasons is that I didn't know when I hovered over one of the images, it would get stuck. So I'm just going to search here for AVIF. Notice that it does not show me the image. That's fine, but it doesn't get stuck, right? So if I go to the image below, I can go through these different images. Nothing happens. I just see a warning that it's a binary file. I see some information about the image, but it doesn't get stuck. Someone in Discord pointed out that it was an issue with macOS, not sure, but it's just something that I was personally experiencing with fzf-lua. Let me show you the different pickers. I'm just going to go to my daily notes here. I took some screenshots yesterday. So I'm just going to open this file, liter MP. That's the way that I configured it to open the preview for the file that I was looking at here. So this is this exact same file. I'm just looking at the images. I can look at the images here inside Neovim, no issue with that, but I prefer to see them here in the preview. So these are the different picker layouts that were created by Folke. Notice that this is the default one, the one that we see at the very top. I'm just gonna scroll through them, so just pause the video and check them out. This is the default one. Here is dropdown, shows at the bottom. Notice you get the preview on the top. IV, which is my favorite one, this is the one that I use all the time. You get the preview on the right hand side. This other one, IV split. Then we have the select one. Notice that you don't get a preview here. Then we have the sidebar here. This looks like a file explorer. Then we have the good old telescope. We have the vertical here. And we have the VS Code one as well. Notice that it doesn't have a border around the files. Is this picker only for files? No, it's for a lot of different things. That's why it's just called a picker and not a file picker. I'm going to show you right now a few of the things that it can do and some custom searches or some custom pickers that I created. If you want to join us in Discord, we have a community already with a few members. It's not open to the entire public yet, but there's a lot of discussions going around in the community here. There's quite a few active members. We have some text regular channels, the way that you can see here. We also have some forum type channels where people ask questions, give support, and all that stuff. So if you want to join, just reach out in any of my social media links. I'm going to leave them in the video description, and I'm going to add you to the server. Okay, so now let me show you the configuration for this plugin. Notice that I'm in the snacks.lua file. If you want to know the path for this file, you can see it at the very top here. Here is where the file lives, and this is the name of the file, snacks.lua. I'm going to show you how to install it later on, but I just want to go over the configuration before we do that. So just let me jump to the very top of this file. It's just like any other plugin configuration. Here I have the different key maps. Here are the options. That's it. So let's start here with the key maps. Notice this leader GL. I just wanted to modify the layout for this picker. So this is the way that I do it. I specify the layout here. Otherwise, all of the different pickers use the IV layout. I'm going to show you where I set that up in a little while. But if I type here leader GL, you're going to notice that I'm using this layout for this specific picker. Notice the picker name is shown here, right? And where did I get this from? If we go to GitHub right now, here in the picker documentation file, I'm going to search here for git log, and let's go to the key maps. Here it is. This is the one. So notice that I just basically copied this into here, and I just specified a different key map, GL, and I specified the options that I want to modify inside here, including the layout. If I delete these, I'm going to get some warnings. Not sure why, so I just left them there. If you know how to fix that or the proper way of doing this, please let me know. This is another picker that I had in Telescope, leader TT, which just goes through my incomplete tasks, but this time using the snacks picker. Notice that here is the search expression using regex in which directories I want to search. Notice that I want to start it in normal mode, so that's the way that you configure it using this in here. And I also specified the layout here. So if I switch to my blog post, I think I have some tasks here. So I'm just going to press here leader TT. You're going to notice that these tasks are not completed. I start in normal mode so I can scroll down, just see the tasks. Notice that I get a preview on the right, and I can just keep scrolling through the different tasks. What if I just press enter in one of these? It takes me there. It's just folded, because that's the way that I set it up, but I'm there. If I press the other key map that we're going to see next, leader TC, that is going to show me the completed tasks. So I can go here, and it seems to be working quite well. If you want to understand how I set up tasks and how I configure everything, I have a video. It's the one shown here. I explain everything in detail, so go and check it out. Okay, so that was leader TT. We already saw here leader TC as well, which was the next one. If we keep scrolling down, we're going to notice here this other picker to list the Git branches with the snacks picker. Notice the layout that I'm using here is select. So if I type here Alt B, because that's the way that I configured it, I can switch to another branch. This is quite useful because at work I play around with a lot of different branches. So sometimes I just need to search and switch to the branch real quick. And that's why I didn't start it in normal mode here. Notice the next one here, Alt K. And this is the snacks picker key maps. I'm opening it in the vertical layout. Alt K, let's see what it shows up here. This is just all the key maps that I have. Sometimes I just need to see if a key map is already taken, right? So if I type here Alt 2, for example, I can see that it's taken. 3 is not taken, right? But if I type this, it shows up and I know that I cannot use it anymore. Or let's say that I don't remember a key map, right? So I'm going to type here GitHub. Notice all of the different key maps that I have related to GitHub. I can switch to normal mode here really quick, and I can go down. And let's say that I want to execute this key map. Open the current files GitHub repo link. Just going to hit enter here and notice that it executed the key map, which is just wonderful. My entire configuration is in my dot files. So if you find useful information, make sure to give them a star. We are at around 430 stars at the moment. So once you're here, if you find useful information, just start the repo. All right, so going back here, we already saw this key maps one. Leader space is my file picker. So that's why you see me typing here liter space, which is basically the same key, and I search for stuff here, right? One of them that I search for all the time is my keymaps file. Notice that it shows at the top, and notice that it has a higher score compared to the one right below, which is this LazyVim. I always want to open this one, so that's quite useful. If I type enter, it's going to take me to that file, of course. Then I can switch back to the alternate file, liter backspace. That's the way that I configured it. It takes me back. Notice which picker this one is. It's the files picker. Here are the different options. In case that you want to override the layout and use a different one, you can specify it here, of course. How I navigate my buffers, this is with the capital H. So if I type here Shift H, you already saw that, puts me in normal mode and I can navigate through the different files. Notice that it's sorted by last used. So snacks, which is the one that I'm on right now, shows at the top. Keymaps, which is the one that I just opened a minute ago, shows below, which is what I want. I want them sorted by most recently used. Again, notice that this is how I started in normal mode, because that's what I want. To close buffers, I'm used to doing it with just the letter D. The default is DD, but I just do it with the letter D. What do I mean by this? Let's say that I have too many buffers open, or too many tabs, as people would say, open, and I want to close some. Just come here, D. I also want to close this telescope1, and I want to close this keymaps.lua file again as well. And this ghosty config because I'm not using it. So that's how I just close buffers basically. It's not deleting them. If I just here search for ghosty, you're going to notice that the config file is there. So this is just to close the buffers. So those are the keymaps that I have configured. Remember about the custom ones that I created to manage my tasks. So that will serve as an example for you to create your own. Everything is well documented if you come to the main repo. This is part of the snacks.nvim repo. So if we scroll up, remember that if you like this, just give a star to the repo as well, as you see on the top right corner. And snacks basically has different plugins, we could say, or features, or snacks, as Folke calls them, right? One of those snacks is the one that we're looking at, is this picker one. So if you come in here and you click on this picker one, I'm just going to open it in a new tab. You're going to notice that all of the documentation for this picker is shown here. So if we scroll down a little bit, you're going to see some images here, the different pickers. You're going to see here the features. And this is where I got all of the configuration from. So just go through this entire thing. It has many other different options that can be configured, that can be used. So if you find some cool stuff, just make sure to share it in the video so that I can add it as well. All right, so now that you know where the documentation lives, let's move on to the rest of the configuration. This is very useful for me. Notice this transform function. My keymaps.lua file was not showing in the right place. So if I search for it here, keymaps, notice the score that it has, 207.95. Remember that you can see that here on the left-hand side. And this file had the same score, 207. So this one was showing at the top all the time, even if I opened this file multiple times. Not sure why. Maybe I didn't type the entire name of the file. I don't know what was going on, but this one was showing at the top, even with the frecency option enabled. So what did I do? Just decreased its score. Notice this is 177 and this is 207. So if we exit out of here and we look here at this function, notice that I'm demoting the LazyVim keymaps file. So you can see that here. If you want to increase the score of a different file that you open a lot of the time, you can do that here. Notice that I can increase it by 100 if I want it, or a different file. Notice that this is the path that I want to increase, Neovim, and this is the one that I want to decrease. So I'm just leaving both examples there so you can have an idea. The scores that you see on the left-hand side, you don't need to have them there. I just have them for debugging reasons, but if you set this to false, you're going to notice that they disappear. Let me just restart Neovim. And now that I'm back in Neovim, if I open the files picker, you're going to notice that the scores are not there anymore. But if you need to troubleshoot, it's pretty useful to have them there. Notice that I specified here the layout as well. I set it to Ivy, and this is the global one. If you don't override it in any of the other keymaps, this is the one that you're going to be using everywhere. Also, when reaching the bottom of the results in the file picker or whichever picker, I don't want it to cycle back to the top, so that's why I set this to false. What do I mean by this? Let me open my buffers picker, and I'm going to scroll to the very bottom. Notice what happens if I keep pressing J. It doesn't cycle back to the top. So if you want to cycle, just remove this from here or set it to true. I needed to modify the layout height for Ivy because it was showing all the way to the bottom. It was showing just in a little space here. So I needed to increase the height for that. I found how to do it in this link here. So just go and explore and read there. I don't think this is the right way because I'm specifying all the different options in here when the only one that I want to change is this height. And I also only wanted to change the preview width, which I set to 0.5 as well. But if I don't include the rest of the options, I would get linter warnings here. It would work, but I would get the warning. So I just added the options. If you know how to fix it, or if you know what the best way of doing this, just let me know as well in the comments. So basically, under layouts, I'm specifying the Ivy layout settings. So just keep that in mind. If we come down here to vertical, this is another layout. Remember that we are inside layouts here. You can see it at the top, right? So this is the vertical layout. I needed to modify the width, so I just set it here as well. And all the other options that I don't think should be here, but just let me know how to set it up correctly. Frecency, we already discussed this. I cannot have this off, so I have it on all the time. If you need to modify the way that scrolling works, this is the way that you do it. I'm used to LazyGit, and in LazyGit, we scroll with capital J, K, H, L, or basically Shift J, K, H, L. So what do I mean by this? If I open my buffers, for example, and if I want to scroll in this file, I just press Shift K to scroll up, J to scroll down. If I want to scroll to the right, well, this is wrapped. But if there are files that are not wrapped, you can scroll to the right as well. Also, if I'm searching for files, let's say that I bring up here the files picker, and I want to scroll through the ghosty configuration file. Notice that here is the file. I am in insert mode. I'm not going to normal mode. And if I type here capital J, I scroll down, capital K, I can scroll up. I guess there must be a wrapping setting because I do see the lines wrapped, which is quite nice, to be honest. I don't need to have them unwrapped, but I haven't checked on that. But notice that there's options here to scroll to the left and right as well. So I just set them up here. And I set up both of the modes, insert and normal mode. Okay, so that's the entire configuration. We already covered a lot of stuff. We covered this, the images, the Discord stuff. Why am I switching from telescope to this? Every time that I open telescope, there was a small lag. It could be that telescope does not have any issue at all, but it's just my specific config. But if I would type here, space to bring up the files picker, I would get like, I don't know, half a second delay while I waited for a telescope to show up. I don't know if it's just me, probably just me, but I don't experience that with this picker. It works just fine. So if I do it again, notice liter space shows up quite fast, and I can just start typing. It wasn't that bad with telescope, but it was noticeable. Every time that I try to open it, I felt it. And it just felt a little bit annoying. But just remember, nothing wrong with telescope, was probably just my config. Notice the next item that I have here on the list. Disable it in Blink. As you notice, when I type something in here, right, if I type key maps, you're not gonna notice that Blink is completing stuff, and I don't want it to. It does by default if you don't disable it, so just let me show you how to do that. I'm just gonna search here for Blink-CMP. This is the file that I wanna open. Just gonna open it here, and you're gonna notice here at the bottom of the file that it says snacks, right? So if we jump there, notice that if the file type is snacks picker inputs, I'm disabling Blink. But if you want to show Blink completions when you're using this, you can enable it here. Personally, I just don't like to have Blink enabled there, but that's a matter of preference. Blink is basically an alternative to nvim-CMP. I have 3 videos about it. This is the first one that I released, and this one, and then this one. If you want to check out the latest features and updates, go and check this video out, and I go over a lot of stuff in there. Also, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, just go and check the video out and you're gonna see how Blink works there. Okay, so we already covered this, disable in Blink. There is another issue that took me hours to figure out. I didn't know if it was related to a key map, a plugin, so I had to disable all my key maps, all my auto commands, all the different plugins, enable them back one at a time to see where the issue was, and it's this bullets.vim plugin. So let me show you what the issue is, or let me tell you what the issue is. Let me switch to that file first. Just going to search here for bullets.lua. Here's the file. Here is the file. You can read about the issue here at the very top. But basically what was going on is that if I searched for something here, right? If I brought this up and I search for key maps, If I was in insert mode, the way that I'm on right now, and I would hit enter, it wouldn't do anything. It would just get stuck in there. So what I had to do to be able to switch to a file was to go to normal mode. So if I open this again, and I search for key maps again, key maps, I had to go into normal mode. Notice that I'm in normal mode right now. Insert mode, normal mode. So I had to go into normal mode and hit enter. And that's not the way that it's supposed to work, but it was caused by this plugin bullets.vim. The way that I fixed it is here. You just run this plugin for specific file types. I got this from the bullets.vim configuration. And there's a discussion going on as well. So just go and check it out. There's another solution in that discussion. So try and see what works. This one has worked for me so far, so I think I'm going to stick to it. Otherwise, I'll just switch to the other solution shown here. And as you can notice, if I switch here to my home directory, I use bullets for everything. Notice here that I'm using just bullets basically on each one of the different lines that I have. So I just cannot live without them. I have to use this plugin unless a new alternative written in Lua shows up. But for now, I have to use this bullets.vim plugin. That is the one that I use also to create new tasks, the way that you see here on the right-hand side. So I need to have it installed. I released an updated version of my entire Neovim Markdown workflow. You can find that here. This video, the 2025 version. Go and check it out. I go over bullets there and all of the different Markdown tips, tricks, plugins, settings that I use. All right, so now that we covered that, how to install it? If you're using the LazyVim distribution, is quite simple. Let me open another picker here, liturgy L. We already went through this picker. Just gonna switch to normal mode here. You're gonna notice that I did a few things. You know what? Let me search for snacks picker so that I can just see all the commits related to this plugin, right? So this is better. If you're using the LazyVim distribution, you need to add it as an extra. If we go down here to the lazy.lua file, you're gonna notice that this is where I added it. This is the line that I added. You don't need to do it in this file. You can do it in the lazy extras menu as well. I disabled fzf-lua because I did have it enabled. I did have it active before, so I just disabled it. I also disabled telescope, so that means that I'm not going to be using telescope at all anymore, unless I find an issue with this picker. So far, it's been working great. Blink CMP, we already went through that. We already saw what I did there. Just added that snacks picker input file type. Notice that I also disabled the telescope-frecency.nvim plugin. Notice that it's shown here, enabled. I set it to false. I removed the key maps that I have in my keymaps.lua file that were related to telescope. I have quite a few of them. All of those changes must be in one of these other commits right here. Notice that this is just work that I did on the snacks.lua file. All of that is going to be pushed in a little while. Remember that if you use this plugin to modify this configuration so that it does not interfere. And that's basically all the different changes that I performed related to this plugin. One last thing that I need to do, as you can see here on the right-hand side, is that I need to push the changes to GitHub because they are not there yet. Scores, I'm going to keep this on for now because I do like seeing the scores. Once everything is stable, I'm just going to set that to false. But for now, I'm just going to leave it on. These are all the commits that have not been pushed yet. Notice the one that show blue on the left-hand side. This is the last commit that I pushed, right? So all of these changes have not been applied yet. I'm just gonna push right now and we're good. All of that is in GitHub right now. So you can just copy my config if you find it useful. Okay, so I think I covered everything. The video is going to be a little bit long, but I need to cover a lot of different stuff. If you found the video useful, give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of people that are not subscribed. If you have comments, questions, concerns, leave them down in the comments. And remember that if you want to join Discord, I'm going to leave a link to my social media in the video description so you can reach out and I'm going to add you to the server. All right, so I hope this was useful. I'll see you in the next video.